Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Adventure Time, Season 6, Episodes 41 through 43, the final 3 episodes of Season 6. And just as a reminder, that means, yes, we will be going on a break from Adventure Time, since it is the end of the season. And we'll get to Season 7 sometime down the road. We are going to be returning to OKKO Season 2 next, though. So, yeah, that is the plans. I'm just going to say that right off the bat instead of waiting until, like, the afterthoughts or whatnot. Though, it's something I haven't really kept secret. It's something that I've stated multiple times, so it's not like it's a surprise. But, yeah, that's what's happening. So, we're still heading towards the arrival of the comet. Everything has been building up to that. Last time we had a good number of big stuff introduced as well. We had the fact that Sweet Pea is dreaming about the comet. We had the truth revealed about Gunter, and I'll talk about that in a moment because I want to talk a little more about that. But it's been quite some build-up. We even had a fake comet with Martin be kind of like talked about and everything, but the real comet is still on its way. And hell, the comet was even involved in the Gunter episode, the Orgalorg episode. So yeah, so let's talk about that, because this is something I touched on before, but I don't think I went too heavy in depth with it, and really didn't like, I think I didn't really like delve into the ideas behind it. So it's no secret or anything that Adventure Time is known, especially through its fandom, as being very queer positive. You have the likes of Bubblegum to Marceline, you have BMO even, and it's like it's not really made a secret of. Adventure Time is one of those cartoons that really pioneered the current age of queer representation in animation. Honestly, without how big Adventure Time had become and still is, and with how well it handled it and was allowed to handle it, I don't think we would have gotten the likes of Steven Universe or even current day stuff like Amphibia and Owl House. And to be fair, I don't know exactly how much Amphibia delves into that, because I've only seen the first season, but I have heard that it is very queer positive as well. But Owl House, definitely. These are shows that are basically allowed to exist and allowed to be on these networks because of the pioneers that came before them. And yeah, you could say there have been shows before that, but still, Adventure Time was kind of one of the big ones for this current age. And so I'm bringing this up because, again, as I believe I said before, I don't know if it's intentional, but Gunter is kind of a trans icon. I don't know if it was meant to be viewed this way by the writers and everything, but think about it. Gunter is always displayed as this penguin, right? Is always referred to with he/him pronouns. Then in one episode from a couple weeks ago, we had the dream with the cosmic owl. And in that, there's a ladybird who we find out at the end of the episode is Gunter. And there's even hints that this is what Gunter truly wanted. That this is Gunter's true self in a way. And then last week we had the Orgelorg episode, which revealed that Gunter in reality was initially this primordial space god. And it's just like most likely genderless. And so this was even brought up in the comments regarding all of this. And I put it this way. Based on the information we have been given, Gunter and Orgelorg are almost kind of like two separate beings. Orgelorg was the original, but because of being banished down to Earth and being compressed and stuff and losing their memory and everything, Orgelorg became Gunter. It is basically a different being, even though it's, technically the same one. They have different consciousness, different beliefs, different attitudes. Dog might start barking. I apologize for that. But she'll stop in a moment. But the point is that Gunter, as we saw in that episode last week, the Orgelorg episode, fought back Orgelorg. Like, it's almost like a split personality, like dissociative identity disorder, which is being explored in other stuff like Moon Knight currently. It kind of reads to me like that. Like, Gunter is a separate personality to Orgelorg. And Gunter's normally in control, but because of the accident and the brain spilling out and everything, Orgelorg took control last time. And that's why they were able to send the message and everything, but Gunter fought back and took control back. So the way I'm viewing it is Gunter, the penguin body that they are forced within, that Orgelorg was forced within, is the body of what would be seen as a male penguin. And that's why Ice King refers to Gunter with he/him pronouns, and everyone else seems to as well. But Gunter sees herself and knows herself to be female, and that explains the dream with the cosmic owl. Orgelorg is genderless. Orgelorg is a genderless primordial god, basically. They are a completely separate entity within the same body, basically. But Gunter, I kind of see it as, again, whether intentional or not, the context we're given throughout these episodes and all kind of tell us that Gunter sees herself and completely identifies herself as female, yet is constantly misgendered because of assumptions made by her appearance. So yeah, it's like, whether intentional or not, I kind of see Gunter as trans representation. And for a series that has had a non-binary gender fluid character such as Bimo, who has been referred to with different pronouns at different times, and obviously queer characters like Marceline and Bubblegum, it's like I could almost kind of see it being intentional, but without directly stating as such, because it's hard, and it was definitely still hard for Adventure Time to get a lot of that representation made canon and everything. So it's very interesting to me, and I really wanted to delve into that a little more. Because just obviously as a trans girl myself, I very much latch on to any kind of representation for trans girls, but trans people in general as well, that I see in any kind of media. It's just like, I just latch on to that because it's like, I want more of that. But yeah, so I just wanted to briefly touch on that. But going into these last 3 episodes, I don't know what to expect. I don't know like what they're going to be about. I assume the comet is going to be the big ending conflict for this season. Otherwise, I'm going to be kind of confused, considering how much that's been built up. But I don't know what it's going to mean or how Finn and Jake, I assume, are going to stop it. A lot of questions come into play here. And there's been build up for there's been a couple episodes that have now mentioned this this like other deity in space. I can't remember its name right now, but that big red thing. But it's been mentioned in like I forgot it was mentioned in a previous episode, but it was mentioned in the set from last time, and it's like, huh, what's that going to build to? And then on top of that, we also had Betty getting Magic Man's powers last time. Is that going to blend into these final 3 episodes at all, or is that going to come in later? A lot of questions. But I guess we'll just have to watch and find out. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Leave it to Adventure Time to end off the season on a completely nonsense joke that, well, not nonsense, but a completely random joke that had nothing to do with anything else in the big finale. So there was a lot I was not expecting there. I didn't think we were going to get follow-up on Orgolorg anytime soon, honestly. I figured at best that might be the finale for next season. But I did not expect it here. But there's a lot to discuss here. And it's all kind of interconnected. These 3 episodes really are interconnected. Let's talk about the first one. The first one is a Martin-centric episode. It's all about Martin and kind of his adventures on this alien planet. He was imprisoned for, being an asshole, because that's just what he is. And he decides to stage this prison break that seems to go fairly well, just accidentally, thanks to some rebels. He and, unbeknownst to him, the rebel leader, end up escaping. And he basically has to traverse around with the rebel leader and figure out what to do next. He ends up planning to steal all the gold from these guards and the king and everything, and eventually separates from the rebel leader and just leaves. Like, there was a side of me that was thinking, like, oh, maybe he will, like, end up going back. Maybe he will actually have a conscience and turn back and save the rebel leader, who he called Martin too. But no, he just fucks off. And he takes the milk moth with him. The milk moth that the rebels were feeding off of and everything. Which, by the way, that was really fucking unexpected. I did not expect to see moth titties in Adventure Time. I don't know how to feel about it. But in all seriousness, yeah, it's just Martin continues to be the absolute worst. Like, honestly, there are very few characters in Adventure Time I would actually say I hate. Like, even characters who are obviously bad guys, I don't necessarily hate them. For example, Hudson Abadir. Is it Hudson or is it Hunson? Marceline's father. He's clearly mostly been portrayed as a villain, an antagonist. I don't hate him. I mean, he's kind of a douche, but I don't hate him. Ice King, I very much don't hate Ice King. I actually really, really empathize for Ice King. Sympathize, actually, would probably be more accurate, but I feel really bad for Ice King. And I want him to get better. And just other characters, other antagonists and villains, it's like, for the most part, there's just very few characters who I actively hate. Even ones who aren't villains, like even just annoying characters like LSP. It's like I don't like LSP, but I don't like blatantly hate her. I just don't like her. But Martin is definitely one of those characters who I actively hate. And I'm not talking about like in terms of like, oh, I hate him as a character. No, he's supposed to be hateable. Just everything he does pisses me the fuck off. It's just maybe because I have a thing about that kind about abusive or even absentee fathers and stuff like that. Like that kind of shit really bothers me. Maybe that's part of it, but just the way he acts, the way he treats everyone, not just his son, but everyone. And just how absolutely fucking selfish he is. Just, it pisses me the fuck off. And I want to make it clear, it's like, I'm not complaining to, like, the people who designed and wrote him for the show and everything. I'm not saying, like, you should have never made a character like this. No, because, again, he's supposed to be seen that way. That's the point. He's a terrible, shitty piece of fucking trash. And that's the point. So it's like, I don't blame the writers or anything, and I don't even dislike episodes that he's in. Because I understand that you're supposed to hate him, and they do their job fucking well at making you hate him. It's one of those cases where it's like you can hate a character and still enjoy them in the series. You know what I mean? Like, there are many villains in fiction that I absolutely can't stand, that I despise. I think they're just the worst people ever. I still enjoy watching content with them in it because it's entertaining. And I love to see them get their comeuppance. Honestly, that's the one thing that we still just don't have with Martin. We have not really seen him get what's coming to him. Like, yeah, he's been like imprisoned and captured, and stuff has happened to him, but nothing really like real, you know? Like, I want to see him honestly get the shit kicked out of him. I want to see him just fuck with the wrong people and get the absolute shit kicked out of him. Because I just want to see something happen. I want to see him face repercussions for his shitty actions. That's one thing I really want from this series. And I really hope the series doesn't end without that happening. So let's talk about the final 2 episodes, because these are the ones that matter here. This episode kind of combines things that were built up now. The return of Orgolorg, the Catalyst Comet, and even the King of Oo taking over. All of these things were built up. So apparently the Candy Kingdom is holding an election, which is even questioned about the legality of it. It's like, this is not a democracy. Like no matter what you think about elections in comparison to, uh, monarchies, this is a fact of Ooh. The Candy Kingdom is a kingdom that is led by a princess. It's not an elected position. I don't understand how this election can even happen. And it's not even so much the legality of it, it's just the possibility of it. How can they do this? I don't understand. But they do it, and they overwhelmingly elect to the King of Ooh because apparently they believe in his ridiculous words. He says some dumb bullshit about bubblegum that makes honestly no sense. But the Candy Kingdom citizens are fucking morons. Like, they even blatantly acknowledge that in the episode. Peppermint Butler is like, they're dumb. You might want to do something. You might want to campaign. But it happens. The King of Ooh is elected as the new princess of the Candy Kingdom. And he takes over, and Bubblegum leaves with Peppermint Butler. And she convinces Finn and Jake to stay and continue to protect the kingdom. And it's genuinely one of the more openly shocking and almost sobering moments of this series. Like, and it's not just because Bubblegum's one of my favorite characters. Probably my favorite, possibly at least. I don't know. It's hard to say with like the likes of Marceline and everything, and other characters who I really love. BMO's pretty great, but yeah, definitely one of my favorites. But it's not because of that. It feels wrong. And again, I just like with the Martin stuff, I feel like this is very much intentional. It's supposed to feel wrong. It's supposed to feel off. Like, just the entire fact of this happening is just, it just doesn't feel right at all. Like, it just feels like it shouldn't, like, literally shouldn't be happening. Seeing Bubblegum walk away from the kingdom and everything, and then afterwards seeing her still worry about the citizens and all, it's like, it's almost enough to make you tear up a little. Because it just... Princess Bubblegum is the leader of the Candy Kingdom. This is just not okay. I don't know how else to describe it. And the King of Ooh, we know, is extremely inept and just honestly a shitbag. Not as much as Martin, but he's still a shitbag. And it's just like, what the fuck? People just are going along with this? Again, I know they're dumb. That's been made very clear since episode 1. But this is a little ridiculous. It's like Bubblegum has had some issues here and there. She's not perfect by any means. She has had those points where she's spied on her citizens. And although she's worked past that, that still did happen. She's done some pretty questionable to even bad things from time to time. Whether in the name of science or power or just her own selfishness to a degree. I acknowledge that. But she has still cared for the Candy Kingdom citizens and has never really showed too much mistreatment of them. There's a couple examples, only a couple, where it's like she really went too far. But for the most part, it's just like, I don't think she really deserves this. And then seeing that this is happening all when the Catalyst Comet is coming, it's like, bad timing as well. So it's like, as Bubblegum has left, the comet comes and everything starts to go to shit. The Candy Kingdom citizens just go into a blind panic. The king has no idea what to do. And apparently Gunther is back. Or rather, Orgelorg. I was saying in the pre-thoughts how it was shown before that Gunther kind of took back control from Orgelorg, but I guess Orgelorg somehow got control back again. I guess probably because, let's be honest, Ice King did not seal away that split open head very well. So I guess Orgelorg just managed to break out again through that, because that was how they broke out in the first place, when Gunther cracked open her head while saving LSP. So when you get down to it, this is all LSP's fault. Blame her. But in all seriousness, yeah. Orgelorg modifies Bubblegum's ship and takes it into outer space with Finn and Jake hitching a ride. And because they are in space now, Orgelorg is able to transform back into a more close to their original form, but not completely. Probably just due to being down there for so long, they were unable to like fully form back. But they're back into a more closely resembled form to their original. And they're going after the comet to gain power, just as they had done in the past. Finn and Jake do their best to try to stop it, but Jake ends up floating away after farting in his spacesuit. And Finn ends up getting picked up by his father, who's still in the Moth, after they escape the alien planet because, yeah, just shitbag. And Finn, the thorn on his hand ends up growing into a tentacle grass arm that allows him to be able to fight Orgelorg after jumping into their mouth, and slice them open and nearly kill them. I honestly, while Finn has definitely been able to take on his fair share of enemies and everything, I kind of call bullshit on this. Orgelorg is a primordial god, or maybe not technically like an actual god, but a primordial being with unimaginable power. God-like power, for sure. I'm sorry, but unless Finn's thorn arm thing has god-level power as well, which, I mean, maybe is implied by this, it's like, he should not have been able to nearly kill Orgelorg like that. That just seems fucking ridiculous. Like, I know it's Adventure Time, and I know things don't necessarily have to make sense with this series, but that's a lot to just believe is possible here. So after defeating Orgelorg, they come back down. Orgelorg hitches a ride and is turned back into Gunther, presumably in regular form, like actually Gunther again, based on what we see. And it just kind of ends. Bubblegum isn't reinstated or anything, even though the King of Ooh had a little bit of a panic there and was wondering if he was the cause of everything, though Toronto seemed to convince him that he wasn't at fault. Toronto's definitely a problem in that regard. But, yeah, Bubblegum's just not the leader of the Candy Kingdom at the moment. The fuck? Like, the actual fuck. What am I supposed to take from that? Like, that's honestly the biggest thing from here, because everything else kind of just reset. The comet was taken care of. It was this also primordial being in reality. And it kind of implied that Finn might be the reincarnation of a primordial comet as well, which raises a lot of questions. But also, that could also, maybe, now I think about it, explain how he was able to kill Orgolorg, maybe? Or nearly kill Orgolorg? I don't know. Maybe we'll get more info on that. Who knows with this series. But, yeah, and the primordial being ends up taking Martin away. So is this the last we're going to hear from Martin? Don't actually answer that if you know the answer, by the way. Any of these kind of questions, I'm just kind of asking myself, talking through things. I don't want to know answers. I don't want to know what's going to happen. But yeah, it's like, I'm just shocked by this, because everything else kind of resets, everything on Ooh, except Bubblegum being princess. She's still no longer princess. And that might be resolved at the beginning of the next season. It's very possible. But the fact that the season ends without it being resolved is almost kind of surprising. And now we just move on, I guess. I guess we have to move on and find some other antagonist or antagonistic force to take on. Some other thing to work towards. I mean, we still have Gulb, was it? The creature I mentioned in the pre-thoughts. The big red creepy looking primordial creature that was shown a couple times in the series now. The one that apparently ate Magic Man's wife and caused her to just blip out of existence. So, yeah, I'm wondering if that's going to be the next main villain. That's the only thing I can think of, because, I mean, honestly, it kind of makes sense, does it not? It's been built up a couple times now. I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, once again, do not tell me. I don't want to be spoiled. I already know enough about things to come. And I'd rather not be spoiled on other stuff, so, yeah. But, I mean, it was a good finale. I enjoyed it, at least. It was enjoyable to watch. And again, it built off of things that I already did like. The Orgolorg reveal, I loved that. So it's like building off of that with this finale. It's like, okay, I can dig that. But it's like, I don't know where this is going to go. And I kind of like that feeling. That feeling of just uncertainty. As weird as that sounds. But yeah. So now we take our break. We'll come back to season 7 at some point in the future. It shouldn't be too long. I don't plan to wait too long, but it's probably not going to be right away. We're going to take some time off. But next up on the list, we will continue with OKKO Season 2. And we should be able to get through the rest of that. No problem. Presumably. But I'm excited to get back to that. I'm definitely a fan of the series. And any excuse for the possibility of more Shannon is always welcome. So yeah. I'm satisfied with how this season ended and how these plot points wrapped up, for the time being at least. Even if it is weird as fuck and nonsensical as Adventure Time tends to be, I'm satisfied with it. And I think that's the best case scenario here. So, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of these final 3 episodes of Adventure Time Season 6? And thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.